Hi, this is Monica Novikowski, the Communications Manager with Iconico Campaigns. Today we're going to be sharing another tool. Anyone that's done any level of project management knows that one of the biggest hurdles is making sure that the team as a whole stays on track. Having a centralized location where information can be stored, people can check in on progress, as well as having a large overview of how things are moving forward is extremely helpful. But sometimes paying for a platform that can make this available to everyone can get expensive, especially for smaller organizations, or on occasion you might want to avoid the hurdle of having to train staff on how to use new platforms. That's why a Google Sheet that is accessible to everyone is a simple alternative. You can find this free tool on our website at iconico.io/toolbox in the management section. The first thing you're going to want to do once you open up the link is to head to the Google Docs menu, click on File, and make a copy. Here you can update the name and then also choose the folder you want to save it to create your own copy of this template in your personal Google Drive. After that, you would just click OK. Alternatively, you can also download the file by again hitting File, going to Download, and downloading it as a Microsoft Excel. This makes it a little more difficult to find a way to share unless you have a network drive that everyone has access to, but making your own copy is necessary so that you can edit the information to begin with. On the template itself, you'll find that there are two tabs. The main project management tab, which is where all of the main information and tracking happens, but also the current projects tab. You'll want to start off actually clicking on the current projects tab and updating this information, which is just simply a list of the different projects you want to track on the sheet. If you have only one project, feel free to delete rows 2 through 5 and simply replace where it says Project 1 with the name of your project. We've also included notes in certain cells to help guide you along how to actually use this template. Once you've updated the list of projects, then go back to the Project Management tab. In row 6, you'll notice some sample information to help guide you as well as these notes. But let's review really quickly. Column B is the owner. That means who is assigned to this task. Of course, there might be helpers or assistants or people that you're consulting along with the task, but who's the person that is in charge of making sure it gets completed? If you click on the down arrow, again, you'll notice that there is some sample information. This is a simple data validation list. You can update this list by actually clicking on the cell and then clicking on data in the Google Docs menu and then on data validation. Here you'll see list of items. This is simply a comma separated list of the names that you want to actually have show up in this column. Once you've updated this information, go ahead and click save. But that only applies it to this one cell. So what you'll want to do is leave that cell highlighted, copy it by either hitting Control-C or Command-C on your computer, or right-clicking and hitting copy. You'll want to paste just the data validation to the rest of the rows in this project tracker. So you'll do that by clicking on the very next cell, scrolling to the bottom, holding down Shift, and then clicking on the final cell. With all of those cells highlighted, you'll right-click, paste special, and then paste data validation only. That's so that you don't change the formatting of the cells. You'll see that the next column, column C, is where you list what project this is for. This is a drop-down list of all of the projects that you've listed on the current projects tab. You won't have to do any data validation update like we did with the first column because this is automatically updated as soon as you update the information on the current projects tab. That should be all you have to do in order to update this template and have it working for you. The only other possible update, depending on when you're downloading this tool, is to update the information on the calendar. You can update the list of dates by double-clicking on the very first date and choosing a new start date. And when you do so, all of the following dates on the next cells will update automatically. But what you will have to do manually is update the names of the months. Now let's learn on how to actually use it. So just as we see with the sample information on row 6, what you would do is choose whoever owns the task. In this case, I'll choose myself. You would choose what project this particular task belongs to. I'll choose project 2. And then simply type in the task. You should probably try to keep this as succinct as possible, but there is no limit on how much you can actually type into the cell. For this example, I'll say create tutorial on using template. Partners is where you start to put in information of who else is actually supporting this task. In this case, I'll say Luis. When is this due? I'm recording this video on October 15th, so I'm going to choose today as my due date. The next column is optional, but I find it helpful when I'm trying to prioritize what things I should be focusing on first. You'll notice that we have 3 levels. Important and urgent, meaning these are the things that need to be completed immediately. Urgent, meaning that there is a hard deadline that needs to be met, but isn't necessarily of the utmost importance, and therefore takes less priority than things that are both important and urgent. And then finally, important. So these are things that are important to the work that you're doing, but don't necessarily have a hard and fast deadline. For this task, I'll say it's important and urgent. And then you can set your status. If you haven't begun, obviously this is not started. If you're currently working on it, you can change it to in progress. Or if you've actually completed the task, then you can mark it as complete. The days until due cell updates automatically. If you've marked something completed, then it won't show days until due. But if you have something that is in progress or not started, it will calculate how many days you have until you can actually complete this task. Anything that is less than a week away from its original due date is going to be highlighted in red. Things that are 2 weeks out will be highlighted in yellow. You can update this drop-down list of both priority and status using the same method we did to update the owner list. This is just a simple data validation list that can be updated by going to the data, validation, and then updating the list of items. But make sure to copy and paste the update to the data validation to the rest of the cells in that column so that it's uniform across the entire project tracker. You'll also notice when you input something on the task list that what happens is it actually shows a mark in this calendar section on the right hand side of where that task actually falls. So you have a visual understanding of where things are. The colors also update with the same length of times that are used for the coloring in the days until due column. So let's say if I were to add another task for myself for the same project and say it's uploading this tutorial to our website. I have no partners for it, but this date is in the future. Let's say I need to do it by October 29th. And I set it to important and urgent and not started. You'll see that the 3rd week in October highlights, and it's in a different color because this is 2 weeks out. This coloring updates automatically every time you open this document, so as the date approaches, you'll notice the colors changing. That will give you a good visual cue of what things you need to follow up on in order to make sure that deadlines are hit. Hopefully, you'll find this template useful in managing all of your projects. If you have any questions, feel free to send me an email at monica.iconico.io. Iconico is a consulting firm that works with organizations from across the globe to build advocacy capacity through community engagement, leadership development, curriculum and conversation design, and strategic planning. If you'd like to learn more about the work that we do or need our support, please visit www.iconico.io or send us an email at contact@iconico.io.